check this out. I set up OpenClaw, and oh my God, here's what I did in the train. So in the train, I know I'm supposed to be doing like certain side hustles while I'm on the train, like preparing for a consulting gig or preparing for university work. But I already prepared with OpenClaw. Sheesh. I mean, wow. The type of things that I was doing today, it's crazy. Like while I was on train, I created a instead of doing anything else that I was doing before previously, I focused on simply creating nothing but a powerful script for like me writing literally powerful prompt for like 1 hour straight. Nothing more important than a prompt, guys. Nothing more important than a prompt that grounds itself in a way that makes it easy for you to not have to repeat some of the things that you probably already repeating on a regular basis, but without recognizing this. So guys, today is Monday, and today I'm going to be actually doing a little bit of teaching. So that's cool. Kind of like that. I mean, spawn money teaching, not bad. That's pretty cool. I just have fun, enjoy, and talk about real world use cases with my students that get synthesized automatically by OpenClaw into the lessons, quizzes, breakout rooms, worksheets, activities, all grounded based on syllabus without me having to do anything. Not bad. Pretty good deal. Now, guys, what's better is the fact that I configured my OpenClaw to look for the mutual dots of reasons. In simple words, there's many mutual relationships in your very own identities without even you realizing that. How funny is that? Sheesh. The day when I realized how powerful this is, immediately I started uh, optimizing OpenClaw to synthesize my identities and identify the mutual dots of reasons that produce the highest value for me as a person. And of course, for whoever deals with my identities. So, what does that mean, guys? The identity based infusion. What does that mean in a world of OpenClaw? What that means, guys, is look, I'm a creator, I'm a consultant, I'm a side hustler, I'm a builder. So, like all of those identities, they are self-based. What I just described is self-based identities, meaning they're connected to me as a human, as a person, and nobody else. But there's also other identities, like that I'm also dealing with, that are virtual identities that are baked in directly inside of the I mean, yeah, inside automation, depending on what kind of automation I'm building. So if I'm building university automation for university, then obviously there's obviously university-based automations. Now, if I'm doing something else and dealing with my own self, then there's self-based um, kind of self-based identities. Now, this is really, really kind of a in Python, you probably heard of a self function. Now, yeah, now I think I'm beginning to understand what the self function in Python really means. Sheesh. I mean, man, what I did with OpenClaw got to be borderline illegal. Sheesh. As soon as I figured out what it could do, guys, it was smooth sailing for me as a person. Immediately, I made sure that OpenClaw fully understands me as a person, me as combination of multiple identities. I wanted to figure out a way that OpenClaw can relate to everything that I'm doing. I wanted to figure out a way for how it can start showing me emergent behaviors. I wanted to figure out a way for how OpenClaw can synthesize multiple identities to create it more natural, to create more natural, closer to me conversations. I want to figure out a way for how to maintain that and use priorities and weights and get all that going without me feeling like a process prisoner, having to constantly babysit it like a genius, like trying to babysit a genius with amnesia. I want to figure out a way for how to groundify everything I do in relationship to any kind of automation or pipeline. I wanted to reduce the proliferation of scripts and have it do automatic compression and decay of scripts without me having to constantly build new scripts, but rather it building bigger pipelines, yet also knowing when it needs to build a script and revert back for cleanup when it doesn't need a script. Now, this is really something. Now, not everybody sits there and analyzes self-based identities in combination with all sorts of other identities that you construct while working on individual automation. For example, I'm working on automation for the university work. So obviously, guys, look, this is the idea. I have an idea. Let's begin. So guys, this is a perfect automation for Indies community, and this is something got to be borderline legal. So today, while I was in Manhattan, I went ahead and focused I focused I focused on building a prompt that was literally 1 hour long. Instead of me focusing on on my latest gig, because as you guys know, I got the latest gig for police department securing their body cams and whatnot, government based gig. Instead of focusing too much on that, and instead of focusing on preparing for my university work, I focused more on building the prompt. Why? The reason why is because it's directly congruent to everything that I'm doing in terms of all of those endeavors. Meaning, like literally, guys, when I built Feudal Educator Clay, I was able to wrap that around any kind of use case, including in these communities use case for where information gets posted in school and quizzes gets updated and all sorts of other shenanigans, and all happening directly from my YouTube, where OpenClaw is tapped into, listening to my opening statement, ending statement, the keywords, phrases, and generating all sorts of details. And it's absolutely borderline insane, guys. When I built that, I knew, like, oh my God, it's already displaying emergent behaviors. Let me double down and include more kind of emergent behaviors by introducing synthesis. Synthesis is a very unique word, but once you learn what it does, it's basically gamifying the hell out of AI systems and making it sound more natural like you. How does the process works? You see, guys, at the end of the day, you have many multiple identities in life. For example, in my case, I'm a builder, I'm a consultant, I'm an educator, I'm a creator. And of course, in multiple parts of my life, those identities overlap with one another. And of course, there's certain automations that I would be building for one identity and other automations for another identity. At the end of the day, like all those identities somehow share some sort of common ground. They cross-pollinate with one another. They intersect with one another in a way that makes sense in certain cases, and in other cases it may not make sense. So uh, the more context what I discovered that I provide for what kind of things I'm looking for, the easier it's going to be for uh, OpenClaw to control it and have its claws on top of all those things. But the thing is, you could have infinite number of ideas, but how do you solidify them and make sure that the best idea wins? Well, for that you need grounding, for that you need scoring, for that you need weights, for that you need decisions. So what I did is I worked on a script today while I was in a train. That prompt that I was creating literally for entire train, what I did is I sacrificed my 1 hour of time for everything else that I could have been doing. But I sacrificed that and chose to simply spend entire hour while I was on train writing a prompt. That sacrifice was really powerful because now I have this incredible prompt that is placed in directly into Notion, that is solidified through RAG-based kind of vector-based database, and it grounds itself to that structure, and it knows what to work on, what automations to build, what score to give, what priority score to give based on identity, how to navigate it in a way that makes total sense. All of those elements, guys, those are unique elements. Those are the elements that many people don't talk about. But you kind of hear about those elements from distance, but never fully truly see the value. So how does it feel when you managing such powerful geniuses. Honestly, guys, it feels like dealing with a bunch of geniuses with amnesia. A bunch of geniuses with amnesia. That's exactly how it feels when you don't have any of those frameworks. Now, guys, this is a solidification and proliferation of, like frameworks. And of course, when you have proliferation of scripts, you run into problems, you run into issues. You become, everything becomes harder. To solve that problem, you need a groundification, and you need the Git repository, and you